Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things martial athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd.
Welcome back to the Herdline Podcast. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day, and happy also hopefully last snow of the season. We'll see how that goes, but it's been a wild week for martial athletics here coming just in the last few days even, and today as we're recording, we have a big news story that we weren't even going to talk about because we obviously didn't know it was going to be happening, but now we have to talk about it. And there's a lot going on right now, and we're here to dive into it today. Trace and the Herd Headset with you. We're excited to talk a lot of different things today. But the thing we're going to start with is the breaking news as of just a few hours ago, as the time of this recording. So it'll be interesting to see what everybody thinks about this. And I know it's been a very debated topic here as of late. But before we get too deep into anything, how's it been going, man?
Been going good. Yeah, can't complain. Like you said, that snow was incredibly unexpected.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is the last time that we will have to deal with it and we can be on to better, brighter, and more sunny days. But, overall, though, doing good on my end. Excited to get into this episode. Got lots to talk about. So let's get this thing rolling.
Yes, sir. We got a lot to talk about. And the big news story of the day, which by the time this comes out, it'll be a day old, but still breaking news as of today. The Marshall University announces that the swim and dive program will continue. It is being reinstated. They got a lot of pushback on this decision to get rid of the program and to discontinue it. They had a lot of heat from that legally here as of late. There was an issue going on there. They were being sued. That's all been out there. It's not been anything that surprising, but I did not really know what this move. I did not really expect this to happen. But they were getting a lot of pushback and a lot of heat from the legal side of things. They were getting sued. So this is essentially just in response to that. And the statement that was put out, Brad Smith's, I'm going to read a little bit of that. He says, "What changed was the recommended implementation strategy for achieving those goals," Smith said, which he's talking about certain goals that they had for the program and so forth. External Title IX consultation indicated that eliminating a women's program could potentially place the university outside the safe harbor framework of Title IX, even when the long-term result would be an increase in participation opportunities for women. When new information changes the pathway forward, responsible leadership reassesses, he continued. This decision allows us to retain the swim and dive program while continuing to expand opportunities for women and moving forward constructively for our student athletes and our university. So it's kind of strange to me because you talked about the whole reason essentially that this move happened is because of financial and trying to have more money for other ways, like other programs within the athletic department. But now you're going to have this program come back, and the stunt program is still going to be continuing as well, that they're just starting up. So that's two. It's great for women's scholarships and being able to bring more women in for Marshall, but it's also like on this financial side of things, man, what are they going to do there? I mean, it definitely creates a lot of questions and a lot of things that we just don't know about. So this is still a very fresh thing, very new. I really don't know where to go with it. So you can go ahead and talk a little bit about it, what you think about it, because it's kind of confusing. It kind of confuses me a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely a teeter-totter, that's for sure. On one end, like you said, it's a good thing because, yeah, great, more scholarships, more sports and different stuff that our, college, university can be able to put out there for the world.
Yeah.
But on the same, the flip side, it's a dangerous thing in my personal opinion. We made the move initially because we did not have a ton of money. And so now, instead of saving any money, we actually will be adding more money
Right.
to a budget that is already kind of stretched thin because, of course, we are Marshall. We are in West Virginia. This is a very small market. Not a lot of our alumni stay around the area, and they're going to go other places. And, so it's a very, very difficult thing, I think. It was definitely a difficult position to be in with the university. I know they got a ton of heat. If you're asking me what I wish would have happened, I personally believe that they should have just stood on their own business and figured out a way to make this whole entire thing work. Not really caring about the backlash that would be coming. That's just my personal opinion on it. However, it is what it is. I would assume that there was probably an issue maybe brought up with a lawyer about this lawsuit saying, hey, it's not looking too good for us. And so, that's the only logical explanation that I could come up with. They knew that they were going to lose the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, here we are. But, I'm a little bit concerned, because we just operated for about a month or so with, all right, we're going to make about $1 million in 2 years. No big deal. We're going to be able to spread that out through every single program here, and it's going to be great. However, now we're not really dealing with that. And so does this hurt the retention of players for the bigger sports, football, like basketball, like all of these different types of things? I don't know. That will be remaining to be seen. But it definitely is an interesting time. And this is something which I've never seen before from any school, from my knowledge. I don't know anybody that has, came out and said, hey, we're not doing this. We're getting rid of this program, and then backpedaled and had to make an adjustment. But not just an adjustment, but you're even doubling down. You're bringing back the swimming and dive team, and you're also adding this whole entire new program. So
Right.
does this hurt Marshall long run? Does it help it? I don't know. And it definitely will be interesting to see how all of this unfolds here in the future.
Very interesting for sure. And in that statement that I was reading from Brad Smith, he was saying the issues or the challenges that were there as to leading to the decision in the first place, they're still there. Like those challenges are still there. And now you've, like you said, double down. Now you're going to have to be funding 2 separate programs. And I know that, it's business wise, financial wise, logistics, analytically, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging. I think it's a good thing for, like I said, women's sports for Marshall. Like, yeah, it's a good thing there. And that's no small feat, and that's a big deal. But at the same time, it's like, man, I don't know. I really don't know where they're going to go with it. And I hope that they can figure it out, because this, in my opinion, and this is, I don't think this is a stretch. The only reason they're bringing it back is because they were getting sued. I mean, that's pretty much what it amounts to. Like you said, maybe they knew that they weren't looking good in the lawsuit, or maybe they just knew that they were going to be stretched thin with their resources. Like it was going to be a long, drawn out thing. They just didn't want to deal with that. I don't know. I'm not there, obviously. So, but regardless, this is a huge move. And, essentially you created the stunt program because you were getting rid of swim and dive, and now you've got both to have to kind of juggle. It's going to be interesting. And the facility and how he's talking about the swimming dive and the whole facility there is just old, and it's not real well kept. So it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to figure this out. But regardless, big moves being made today for Marshall Athletics. So we'll see where it goes from here. But figured we better start. We should have started with that one just because it was the most recent thing, and like I didn't see that coming until about 12 o'clock today until I first saw it. So yeah, it's big news for sure. So we'll see where they go from there. Congrats to the people that really were wanting that to come back. And I know a lot of people put their heart and soul in it, so I'm happy for them. But at the same time, you got to think about Marshall long term. How's it going to be? We don't know. So we'll see. But moving on to what we were going to start with originally before this came out, the 2026 Marshall football schedule has been released as of about last week. Got a lot to talk about here. Pretty decent schedule. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's not like non-conference schedules here anymore, just kind of bland. for Marshall. No, that's just kind of what they've been the last couple years, outside of like maybe one or two games. And it's an interesting schedule for sure. And I do think we actually had a pretty good draw on it. But I'm just going to go over the games real quick from game 1 to game 12, just to list them. So the first game, September 5th at Penn State at Happy Valley. We knew that was coming. And then September 12th, we have the home opener against Middle Tennessee in a green out game. So everybody wears green. And then the next week, September 19th at Missouri State, who beat us last year. Need to get them back. I know they lost their coach here just this offseason, and so they might be in a little bit of a rebuild. Who knows? And then the last home game of the non-conference slate is Gardner-Webb, which is homecoming and stripe the stadium. I don't know about that choice for the opponent there. I'm sure we might talk a little bit more about that, but it is what it is. And then the conference opener is October 3rd at James Madison, defending champion, defending national darling, all that kind of thing. We'll see what they have this year with a whole new team, whole new coaching staff. And then October 10th at home against Coastal Carolina. And then back home again on the 20th of October on a Tuesday night against South Alabama. Tuesday night games, weeknight games are never that sought after, but I get why they're doing it because of TV purposes. And we've never had South Alabama at home, so that should be pretty cool, I guess. And then October 31st, Halloween, we go at Old Dominion. Hopefully it's not a horror show. And then the next week, November 7th, at Georgia Southern. Don't even want to talk about Georgia Southern, but they're on the schedule like they always are. And then November 14th, they actually got it right this year, the Sun Belt. We are at home against Appalachian State. That is the Memorial game, the blackout game. Thankfully, they actually listened to all the complaints and figured it out this year. And then November 21st, we are at home for Senior Day against Georgia State. It is also a whiteout and a salute to service game. So quite a bit going on that one. And then on quote-unquote rivalry week, oh boy, at Louisiana Monroe to close out the season. It's not – the Sun Belt really doesn't care about that kind of thing because if they did, Marshall would not be playing Louisiana Monroe in Week 12. But I digress. So just overall looking at it, what do you think about the schedule? There's a couple other follow-up questions I'm going to ask too, but just what do you think about the schedule as a broad look of things?
Well, I believe that I saw a graphic the other day. I think Marshall is second to last in the Sun Belt this year as far as just the strength of schedule is concerned. Penn State is really your tough game. You're coming with a James Madison brand new coach. You have no idea what they're going to do. App State's not been really anything the last couple of seasons. And then everybody else on the schedule too has been lackluster. So I get it. And I think that we've got, like you said, a good draw from the West as far as we have a very good opportunity to win those games. Right. It's not exactly exciting by any means. I don't get pumped up to go watch South Alabama. I especially don't get pumped up to have rivalry week with Louisiana Monroe, a team that should not even be in the FBS. So, but at the end of the day, this year, in my opinion, I say rack up as many wins as possible. Get them all. Let this be a year to where we can just, flex our muscles a little bit. Let's run the score up a couple of these games. Let's get back to Marshall football. Let's give Tony Gibson a winning season and to put him in a really prime and good position. I am excited, of course, for James Madison. It's always going to be a fun game. Like you said, getting that November 14th date for the 75 game against App State at that too. That's a fantastic opponent for that week. Yeah. Just a lot of excitement. They'll bring fans down. They did a couple of years ago, I believe, that we played them on the 75 game. They were very, well represented that day, and they weren't even that good that year. In my opinion, I think they went 6-6 that season. So yeah. Overall, looking at the schedule, it doesn't wow me. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I just cannot wait. I've got this particular game circled. There's a couple of games that I'm always excited about. I always look forward to playing Coastal. I always look forward to playing James Madison. I always look forward to playing App State. Everything else is interchangeable to me. And Middle Tennessee, that does nothing for me. We've talked about this in prior episodes. Missouri State, I hope we go down there and beat them by 1,000,000. I want to see 100 points on that scoreboard because, my goodness, what they did to us last year I don't even want to think about it. So
No.
I hope that they just absolutely dismantle them that second week of the season. But overall, though, exciting no matter what. Herd football is herd football at the end of the day. So I got no complaints, and I think that we're in a good position as far as wins are concerned.
Exactly. It's hard football. It really doesn't matter who they play. It's going to be exciting just for that, just the nature of that. It's a strange kind of, I don't know. Some of those like themed games at home really don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like the Gardner Wet, like how can your homecoming game be against an FCS school?
Cole Pennington, man.
I mean, I guess maybe that's got something to do with
Cole
it.
Pennington coming home. That's what it is. We're celebrating the Penningtons that day.
The Penningtons draw. The Penningtons are needle movers. I guess that's what it is. I don't know. But I don't know. It's like that's gonna be a really hard game to be like, yeah, let's stripe this stadium. Let's Gardner Webb. I mean, they could have pushed that back like 2 weeks for Coastal Carolina. I mean, I don't know why they didn't do that. I mean, that would have been a game that people probably would have actually had a lot of excitement for. But it is what it is. And then, the blackout game, the 75 game, it really doesn't matter who they play. So that's just going to be good regardless. And then Georgia State, like a whiteout against Georgia State's kind of random to me, but I guess a whiteout would have been random against anybody pretty much. So we'll see what happens there, but it's still a good schedule. Like we have a lot of the quote unquote tougher teams that we play are at home. So I think that helps us out. But a couple of follow-up questions I was going to ask you before we move on. So besides Penn State, what are some of the other games that worry you the most and think we might have the most trouble with?
Well, judging on recent history, Georgia Southern, they're a team to which in all reality, I'll give them some respect. They've got a good team coming back. What's that? His last name is Bryant. Is that quarterback that they've got? It was a former 4-star committed to Georgia Southern. I believe he played a little bit last year in the game against Marshall. And now they're going down. Yeah, they're going down to Savannah area to play against them. That's a worrisome game for me. I think that Georgia Southern really is a sleeper team to win the entire Sun Belt this year, just because they've got a couple returning guys. Clay Helton's a good coach. It's taken him a little bit of time to get some things rolling, but let's be honest too. I mean, it's not like Georgia Southern was lighting the world on fire whenever they got there too. So that was a rebuild, and I think that we're starting to see the fruits of that because they've had some flashes the last couple of seasons, but they've seemed to got a really good group of guys, young guys, coming to play for them. So that's one that worries me. James Madison on the road always. Well, I say that we always like switch wins with them. Whoever's the away team wins the game. So maybe my worry is in dismay. That's always a good and tough game. So we'll have to just see what Billy Napier is going to do. I would honestly say the 75 game's a big one. I'm worried about that for a number of reasons. I mean, I want to see Tony get his first 75 win. I think that's a big deal. You got to get that underneath your belt. But playing against App State, nothing's guaranteed. Every single year we've played them, it's always been a good and solid game overall. So, it's going to be a hard-fought battle. We're rivals, obviously, so that always kind of ups the ante a little bit more. But I would really say probably those three are the ones I'm most concerned about. The one that I just would love to see the shackles fall from our hands on, too, is Coastal. They also have just seemed to have had our number the last couple of years. So, I'm tired of them too. And I would love to be able to see them get past the Chanticleers as well. But I'd say really, it's the main games that we always look at. James Madison's always tough. App State's always tough. Coastal's always tough. And then Georgia Southern's hit and miss. And this year, I believe it would be a hit.
I agree with you. I think those are the year in, year out, the toughest games we play. And I think the scores are very indicative of that. And App State, I mean, to your point there, App State had a really solid recruiting class this year, transfer portal class and everything. So I don't really know what they're going to have. I mean, it's hard to tell, but man, they very well might sneak up on some people. And I mean, that's still a program that's used to winning. I mean, they've had a couple off years here lately, but they're still used to winning. So that's going to be a tough game on 75 week for sure. yeah, I agree with those picks. I mean, obviously Penn State's the toughest, but after that, it's a pretty significant drop off. But you really don't know what a lot of these programs are going to have, especially these Sun Belt teams. So we'll see what happens. But my next question is the last one about this topic, and I actually tweeted this a while back, a few days ago. So I'm going to throw out an over under on win total. It's the exact same thing I tweeted. So over under 7 wins. What do you got?
Oh man. I'm hoping to see 8 or 9 wins. I think that's reasonable. After a 5, but we say that 5 wins last year, they were in almost every single game. It just really a couple of points, 5 or 6 points would be like 2 or 3 game difference for the entire season. We retained a lot of guys. We brought in a lot of really good guys. So I think 8 or 9 wins over that 7-win mark is not unreasonable by any means. I don't think that we're going to see a losing season. I think bare minimum we'll go 6-6. I think that Tony and co will right the ship this year. And like we talked about just a second ago, we got a lot of winnable games on this schedule this year. So, I think that we're going to be in a good position. If you're able to get through your non-conference sitting at 3-1, which they should, then we're going to be in prime position to really do about anything that we'd want to do in the Sun Belt. That's where I think if we have trouble though, well, then I may be retracting my statements.
Yeah, right. No, that's a big point right there, because we started 2-2 last year in non-conference and should have been 3-1. And that was a big difference. I mean, if you win one of those games, you're at least bowl eligible. So, I mean, you got to start out 3-1. You cannot lose to Middle Tennessee or Gardner-Webb at home, and you can't lose to Missouri State again. You've got to win those games. But as far as my over/under for 7 wins, I'm going over. I'm going at least 8. I think they go at least 8-4. Now that's subject to change. I mean, it's March, but I think as of right now, if you made me pick, I'm gonna say 8-4 solidly. And then, if they can reach up a little, 9-3 or so, like that might be in contention to win in the division. So they got chance. I mean, it's wide open. It's a wide open conference. I mean, the days, of last year where James Madison just ran roughshod, those are done. I mean, yeah, I think they'll still be formidable, but they always are. But I don't think they're going to be that way again. That's for sure. Not in year 1. So we'll see what happens. But I think we've got a chance to really do some good things this year. The schedule kind of favors us a little bit in a lot of these games. I mean, if you look at these, just went down these games on paper, I mean, are we an underdog in any game except Penn State right now? I mean, I really don't think. I mean, I don't think we're an underdog against pretty much anybody else on the schedule right now. I mean, and granted, that's still months away, but I'm just saying we got a chance to really do some things. We just got to put it all together. So we'll see what happens. But moving on to another big news story that just came out here recently. This one kind of, I'd heard a little bit of rumblings about this, and I'm glad that it came to fruition because this is a huge, huge deal for the program. Women's NIT bid. I'm very happy that they got a chance to get to a postseason tournament. Their first appearance in the women's NIT since 2016, and only their second bid ever. There's a little bit of unknowns about like when they were going to play, who they were going to play, the bracket. That the women's NIT has kind of done like a bad job of putting all that out there. Like they kind of was just like, oh, by the way, this is what's happening, and like it was like kind of just seemed rushed to me. But Marshall gets a first round bye, which is pretty dang cool. And they will play the winner of Ohio versus UMBC. They're going to play the winner of that game on March 23rd at home at the Cam Henderson Center, a 6:00 tip-off. That is a Monday, I believe. And this is a big opportunity because, this is year 2 of Julie Falks, and she's already got them to a pretty big deal for the program. They're not used to having stuff like that. I mean, they haven't been to the NIT since 2016. The men's team hasn't been to the NIT since 2012. So, I mean, this is not something that comes along that often for Marshall basketball. So it's a big deal. And I'm really glad they got the opportunity to get in at number 1 and number 2 for a home game. I mean, they could really have a really solid crowd turnout for that game. So what do you think about the women's team getting that NIT bid? And what do you think their chances are of going on a run there?
I'm thrilled for them. They had a tremendous season, and for them to just end it in the tournament, in the conference tournament, that wouldn't have done them justice. I mean, this is a
Right.
good basketball team. So, it's fantastic that they got into the NIT. I'm thrilled with just the fact that they're not just in it, but man, like you said, they got the first round bye. They're hosting
Right.
a game here at the Cam Anderson Center. We've got postseason basketball at the Cam. That's awesome.
Awesome.
And I was looking at tickets the other day. They're cheap. All tickets right now, doesn't matter where it is, low bowl, everything, about $8.75 on Herd Zone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm telling all the Herd fans that are listening, I've said it multiple times this season. Our girls have really showed out. They've had tremendous put outs as far as games and different things this year. They've been in every single game just about. And they are definitely a team that is worthy of our fandom. So I really want to just encourage all of our fans, get out to the Cam, man. I mean, it's less than $10 a ticket. You can't beat that. You got postseason basketball. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. We may even end up playing our rivals in Ohio. How awesome would that be? So, I just say that let's jam this place out and let's give these girls an opportunity to leave a lasting legacy here at Marshall with a win. I think that'd be awesome just to see that happen. Winning a postseason basketball game at home, that's special. Mm-hmm. So, hats off to Julie Falks. I mean, she's doing a tremendous job with our program. Like you said, these things don't really happen for women's basketball. Ever since making the tournament, I think that was a huge turnaround, a very pivotal moment. And I think that moving forward, we'll be able to see more situations like this. I think 20-plus win seasons are not out of the question, and I think that even more, maybe March Madness at some point is in the future for women's basketball too. So it's an exciting time, definitely, if you're a women's basketball fan. And really just women's basketball in general, the last couple of years has really skyrocketed. And so it's very interesting that as the popularity of the sport has gotten better, Marshall has gotten better too. And I think that really you could see women's basketball become one of those niche sports for, our university, like soccer. Of course, soccer is a more niche sport. You're not going to get most schools around the country getting sellout crowds like we do. But I think that it's not unreasonable that in the future, as if they keep continuing to have this type of success and as women's basketball continues to get more and more eyes on it, that, that could be really a strong program moving forward because people in Huntington, they love winners. And if you win, they'll be there. And I think that that's going to be true. I'm really hoping that they get a good crowd on that Monday night, 6:00. And listen, $8.75. You can't beat that. Go have a good evening for less than $20. Just tell them the headset sent you.
There you go. No, I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, this is 2 years out of the last 3 that they played in a major postseason tournament. I mean, that's not a small deal at all. And I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened before. I don't know. I mean, and I don't really remember. I did not look this up, but I don't remember if that 2016 NIT game was at home or not. But I mean, if it wasn't, when was the last time there was an NIT game played at the Henderson Center? Men's or women's? I mean, we're talking ever. I mean, quite possibly ever. So, I mean, it's a big deal. And I know that a lot of people have just kind of like written off the NIT and the other tournaments over the years, but it's a big deal. And when you go through and look at the roster or the field that's in this tournament, a lot of these programs are mid-major programs now, and it really means something to them. And they're going to go out there, they're going to give it their all. And you got a lot of seniors on this Marshall team that has been through a tremendous year 2 years ago, a rebuild last year where you could see the hope, and then this year another solid year. So a lot of seniors and a lot of upperclassmen. They're going to be playing their last game, probably. Well, hopefully not their last game, but one of their last games in a Marshall uniform. So you need to go out there and support it. I mean, for less than, like you said, less than $10 a ticket, you can't really get much better than that. So it's a big opportunity for the program, and they could couple wins. They're a 25-win ball club. I mean, that's not a small thing either. You don't win 25 games that often. Marshall basketball doesn't either way, men or women. So a lot on the line here. Hopefully they can really come out and play well. Either one of those teams would be cool if it was Ohio, especially. If it's Ohio, I think it'll even draw better than if it's UMBC. But either way, you need to get out there because they got a real opportunity to do something special. So get out there to the Cam, and congrats to the ladies on getting this opportunity. But we're going to briefly talk about, which I just wanted to kind of talk about it just really fast. But we're getting ready to get back into men's soccer. And they are currently in the college spring league. They just have 2 matches. See, I say games. I'm not a huge soccer person, but I do follow Marshall soccer. That's for sure. But they had a 2-0 win over Dayton at home just within the last week. I can't remember when that was. I think it was over the weekend. 2-0 win over Dayton. And then they returned to action on March 28th against Louisville at home. So any chance they can get a little extra reps, little momentum building, little just flow of the game, that's going to be important for the program. They're just such an established brand at this point. We'll definitely talk more about men's soccer as the season progresses. It's good to see them get back in it. Like you said, it's such a huge deal in Huntington. The crowds they pull in, week out, it's going to be good again. So just wanted to get that out there real quick. Just the fact that we see that these games happen, and we're excited to see the soccer program return and hopefully go on another national title run. We'll see. But moving on to the next, pretty much the last topic we were going to talk about. Baseball has been on fire here lately, at least since conference play started. Now, the 2 games against Louisville, they weren't great. But Louisville is a whole different kind of animal compared to the Sun Belt, or at least compared to Marshall, at least right now. But Louisville did beat Marshall 16-5 and 18-8. So not terrific scores there, obviously. But it did not affect anything as far as conference standings go, obviously. And that started up over the weekend against Georgia State. And that was a very impressive series that they played against Georgia State. Their first conference opening sweep since 1999. Which I thought was kind of crazy to think about. They got the 3-game sweep, 5-2 win, 4-2 win, and then a 13-7 win. And the 13-7 win, they were down 6-0 in that game. It's down 6-0, and then they got it down to 6-2, and then Evan Batone hits a grand slam to tie it. And then after that, the snowball just kept growing and growing and growing, and they just light them up for 13 runs. And the Herd currently sits at 11-8 overall in the season, 3-0 in conference, which is a huge deal to start out 3-0 because the Sun Belt is full of some really, really good programs. Drew Harlow was the Sun Belt Pitcher of the Week. Just announced that today. Congrats to him. Had an amazing week last week. They were supposed to have played Kentucky recently, but that game unfortunately got postponed because of, like I said, 3 inches of snow. So they have not said when that game is going to be rescheduled for. And boy, oh boy, they got a lot of challenges coming up just in the next few days, week or so alone. March 20th through 22nd, they're at Georgia Southern for 3 games. Georgia Southern again, can't get away from them. And then March 24th, they are at home against WVU. And then March 27th through March 29th, they are at home against Coastal Carolina. Huge, huge series, huge games. But just looking at the games recently, what do you think about how their performance against Georgia State and some of these games coming up? What do you think they got a chance to really make some noise against some of these juggernauts coming up?
Well, your first place in the Sun Belt, Herd, is doing pretty good, I guess.
Yep.
But in all reality, in all seriousness, they're having a fantastic stretch of games. Getting the initial season sweep is fantastic. Going to Georgia Southern this weekend. Again, I know that we say, oh no, because it just seems like they've got our number. That being said, I think they've won 5 or 6 games this season.
Right.
They're not the greatest team in the world. So on paper, looks like Marshall is at least favored. So if you're able to come out of that series with at least 2 wins, man, you're in the driver's seat. And then, like you said, too, you got that game circled. It's WVU, first of the 3-game series on that Tuesday, March the 24th. It's going to be exciting. I'll be there. I've got my tickets and different things already, and it's going to be a fun one, no doubt about it. So, like a lot of challenges ahead, sure, but I think that Marshall's up to the challenge. They've proven that they are a good ball club. This is a good ball club from top to bottom. And I will give a shout out too. I mean, relief pitching this last weekend was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
We've gone back to this every single week. Well, the Marshall will be as good as the relievers are good. And this last weekend against Georgia State, man, they were stellar. They did their job. They did what they're supposed to do, and it was great stuff to watch. That game Sunday was amazing. I was able to watch the majority of that game as I wasn't very busy in the afternoon, and I saw them kind of just come back, and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, all Herd fans need to get out to the Jack. I mean, we just have to. Again, the next home game is the 24th. It's going to be a huge one. It's a sellout. That's no brainer. Obviously, that's what's going to happen. Coastal Carolina on the horizon. That should be a sellout series. Every single game should be sold out because you've got one of the best ball clubs in the entire country coming to your place. Absolutely, you ought to be there and ought to show up for that one. But I do think that Marshall's in the driver's seat. They're in first place right now. I know we're only 3 games in, and so that's probably subject to change. It will change, no doubt. But they can make some noise, and they can definitely be a top 4, maybe even 3 team in the Sun Belt. I have no doubt about that because they've got guys that can hit the ball. They've got some great pitching, and it just seems like things are coming together for them. So hats off to Greg Beals. He's doing a tremendous job. I love to be able to say that he's our coach. He's doing a fantastic job, loves this place, got a lot of respect for him. So it's an exciting time for Herd baseball. And I think that it's going to be a fantastic couple of weeks here as we watch them go to battle against some very good, talented, and rivalry teams as well.
Absolutely. And with these big games coming up, going to be big attendances. I mean, there's just no other way around it. Anytime you get WVU down there, you're going to have, I don't know even how many the place holds, but you're going to have it for sure. I mean, and even the series against Georgia State, that last game that they won 13-7, there was a really solid crowd at that game because I watched a lot of that game, and there was a solid attendance. And, it was a really nice day. That was before it turned cold. It was really nice. So, you're going to have a lot more of those coming up. And if this team keeps winning, you're going to see a lot more crowds like that. So very exciting, outlook for the Herd from the remainder of the season. Yeah, I mean, you would like to see out of these games coming up, 3 against Coastal, 1 against WVU. Out of those 4, you'd like to see them win. You would like to see them realistically win at least 2 of those, if not 3. If they won 3 of those, that would be amazing. But I mean, that's going to be a hard ask, but if we can start playing like we're capable of playing and those bats keep going like they're going, man, they got a chance in every game they're in. So, like you said, relief pitching has been a lot better lately. The whole pitching unit has been better lately. So that's exciting to see. Well, besides the Louisville games, but besides that, they've been a lot better. But yeah, so a lot to look forward to there for Herd baseball, and we're going to continue to cover them and talk about them, and we'll see where they go. But right now, they're sitting pretty. I mean, heck, 3-0 in conference, haven't been that since 1999. I mean, that stat was kind of wild to me, honestly. But yeah, so we'll see what they do, but a lot to look forward to for sure. A couple other little side notes I was going to mention. Well, at least one. This is another kind of recent thing that just came out about an hour ago regarding a men's basketball player that is apparently entering the transfer portal. Drew Fuquay, who's played quite a bit this year, is apparently entering the portal, which kind of sucks. But I mean, I do understand it. There's just going to be a lot of turnover every season now anymore. But that's just another guy that we're going to have to replace. We got to get some bigs in there. No doubt about it. Just have to do it. Have to get some dynamic bigs, at least one truly dynamic big, because that's basically what held us back this past season from reaching our fullest potential. So we'll see what they do, but that is going to be a little bit of a loss, for sure. But I think that they need to go out and find somebody good. That's, they're going to have to go out and find somebody that can man the paint, that can do the things we need them to be done. So we'll see what happens there. But Unless you got anything else to add, I think that pretty much covers it. There were several topics to talk about today, but none that we could really spend like a long, long time on, if that makes any sense. So unless you got anything else to add, we'll pretty much close it out, and then we'll see what happens over the next week.
Yeah, I'm good to go. And like you said, exciting stuff on the horizon here. Going to be a fun week for Marshall athletics. So get out there, support these teams. Let's have a week. Let's have a good week. I'm for that. I think that'd be good. Again, you got a great series of baseball this weekend to watch. Of course, they're not here, but then Monday you got women's NIT. Tuesday, it's going to be a fun one when the Mountaineers come to town. So, going to be a fun one. Going to be a good week. Exciting overall. So, go Herd.
Go Herd. Let's have a week. I love that. Let's have a week and go Herd.